At the center of Morocco's ancient city of Fez sits a piece of history. The Janjuatex leather tannery is the oldest in the world. Amid a multitude of colors and powerful odors, tanners here transform animal hides into leather. And their methods date back to the 11th century. But the work is incredibly time-consuming and labor-intensive.
راه جيت تجمعها راه كتلقى هاد الخانق اكثر من داك اللي كيدير التراكسيون.
Adil Al-Karisi has been doing this job for over 30 years. But the tanning process that he loves relies on heavy chemicals that pose health hazards to him and his co-workers.
النص تما ديال الضباغه راه في التالي ديالو راه مرض، راه حاله لا يرثى بها.
And some say they're no longer willing to take the risk. So will this ancient craft continue to stand the test of time? We visited Morocco to find out how after more than 1,000 years, this craft is still standing. These arches surrounding Fez lead to its market's narrow paths. To find the tannery, all you have to do is follow your nose. The scent of dead animal skin and feces fills the air at the souk, a leather bazaar that houses the 3 biggest leather tanneries in the city.
دار الضباغ كانت سميتها دار الذهب. تبارك الله كانت شي حاجه يعني ماشي هو الفلوس، واحد السعاده كنت كتحس بها، واحد الفرحه كنت كنحس بها في قلبي، هذاك الشيء تبارك الله ما كيتوصفش.
For most, the smell is unbearable. Local guides give tourists sprigs of mint to place under their nose when they visit. But for Adil, it's part of the tradition. He works with goat and sheep skins that he buys from a nearby market, and then starts the cleaning process.
دابا هذه المرحله الاولى كنسميوها النقاع. هذا هو النقاع اللي باش كتطلق منها هذه الملحه هذه كنشلوها. من بعد ما نشلوها ان شاء الله بحول الله كتبات 24 ساعه.
Adil uses water to loosen any dirt or mud. It also softens the skin, making it easier to work with later. The next day, he transfers the hides to these large stone vats that hold natural acids and dyes. He leaves the skin for 2 to 3 days in a solution made of chemicals, salt water, and cow urine. It'll break down excess fat, leftover flesh, and hair. But it's just as harsh on human skin and can cause serious injury.
علاش هاد الماده صعيبه بزاف على حسب هاد الماده اللي فيها ديال البازو. راه ملي كطول هكايا راه كتخليك ديما لاطراس. كنوريك لاطراس اللي في يديا راه الكويات هما هادو فينا. يعني هاد الكويات هادو راه تقريبا عندهم 20 عام وما بغاوش يبراو.
Adil's father, who also worked in the tanneries, tried to stop him from following the same path.
من هبط لينا لدار الضباغ بعد النهار الاول دوزها عليا زعما باش كما الله نقنط ونمشي بحالاتي. والو ما بغيتش، ما عجبتني بزاف، ارتحيت فيها بزاف.
Adil stands in the mixture for hours a day, plucking and scraping off any loose hair with his bare hands. He wears waterproof pants, but there's still a risk of severe chemical burns. Then he washes the hide 3 times until all the hair falls off.
بعد ما كيدوز واحد 48 ساعه كندوه للفونو كيتصبن. هاد الماكينه كنعطيوها حنا الفونو هي اللي كتصبن لك السلعه كطير داك الجيل.
This tanning technique dates back to the 11th century. The natural chemicals in the solution alter the protein structure of the hide.
الضباغه نباتيه ما كايناش في شي بلاصه واحده اخرى الا هذا المنتوج هذا دابا ما كيضرش. يعني واخا نديروه تبطين هذا كيشرب العرق، ما كيديرش لا كزيمه لا حساسيه لا والو، ماده طبيعيه نباتيه.
Adil then moves the hides to the basin filled with a mixture of pigeon droppings and water. They sit for 2 days to thin and stretch. Then he places them back into the phono machine for a final wash and drapes them along small balconies to dry for 48 hours. Traditional tanneries like this were common in Fez and Marrakesh. In the 16th century, workers used leather to make products like books, shoes, and clothes. It quickly became one of the country's leading exports. But tanneries during this time used extremely hazardous chemicals, and many workers suffered from severe health conditions like cancer. So in the 19th century, the leather-making industry shifted away from traditional, dangerous practices to more modern machines. The few traditional tanneries that survived struggled to compete.
نبدا الضباغ دابا بليا نخرجوا 200 هذا كيخرج 800 في الفونو.
Today, a deal makes less than half the money he made when he started out. Despite that, he says he can't see himself doing anything else. In this small room, he scrapes the hides to remove any leftover hairs or fibers. This step has caused him severe pain and has taken a toll on his body over the years.
الحاجه الوحيده اللي كنتعرضوا لها هنايا كنتعرضوا شويه ديال البرد، كيأثر علينا داك البرد في الظهر ديالنا. يعني كتعرف شحال نتايا حاني كتحني على 60 كتبقى 60 وانت داير هكا 60 مره كتطلع وتهبط، وكل جلده كنضربوا فيها 64 ضربه. 64 ضربه ديال طلعه وهبطه كل وحده. تصور 60 شحال كتضرب.
He continues until the hide is completely smooth. When it's ready, he brings the finished leather to craftsmen like Mohammed Al-Helou.
السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله.
اسم محمد. كيداير اخا؟ كيداير مع السامع مزيان.
Mohammed has worked as a leather craftsman for over 20 years. He separates the leather based on the type of skin and checks the quality to determine what product he can make from it.
هذوك الجليدات خديت هاد البيعة ولكن جبتها شتها مع الإنارة مزيانة هكا، جبرتها يعني خدامة، كاين فيها ما يصلح، فيها ما يتخدم، فيها ما يمشي.
Mohammed designs bags, shoes, and belts. These handcrafted pieces can take up to a week to make.
حتى خصنا شي واحد بحال هكا تا هو خاصو يكون يعرف المنتوج شنو كيشري، شنو المراحل داز، راه شحال المراحل دازو منها، راه داز باش تكون هذا الصاك هذا، والانسان اللي يحمل شي حاجه راه كيحمل شي حاجه ديال الثقافه، راه كيحمل شي حاجه شي تقريبا علي نقولوا 10 ديال القرون هاد الضربه.
More than half the population in Fez works in crafts and merchandise, making souvenirs and products and selling them to tourists. But the pandemic brought tourism to a halt for 2 years, and the economy hasn't fully recovered since.
مزيان. كدوز النهار كولتي.
بخير.
في المحل ديالك. هذا هو داك الناس المعجبين مقوار كيدوزو مقدامين كتعجبهم الصنعه ديالي، كيقول لك واش مسموح نتصور معاك، كيدخلوا كيتصوروا معايا.
Adil knows how difficult this craft is, but he doesn't believe traditional tanning should end. Instead, he hopes conditions will improve for the next generation of tanners.
الحاجه اللي كتخليني شاد في هذه الخدمه هو الصبر. عندي شي احساس سبحان الله العظيم كيدور كيقول لك دابا الامور تبدل، ديما تابع بحال شي خيال تابعه.